Hey everyone, Egman here with another video, and today we've got a top 16 breakdown with deck list for the Dragon Ball Super 2021 North American Finals that happened this past weekend. It was a super great event, and I was commentating both days, and so if my voice is a little hoarse, that is why, but it was such a great event. My first big event pretty much since Vegas in 2019, and I had a whole lot of fun doing everything. Huge shout outs to all the players who showed up, to Core for hosting the event. The judges were on point the entire time. My stream team was amazing. Shout outs to C-Rod and Tony G from the Super Players. Shout outs to Richard Zapp for the commentating on Saturday. And then also my own team, George Espira, and also Brian Brown for doing the Stage 0 part. And also Brian did a whole lot of work behind the scenes. He was the stream manager for the event. He made a lot of assets. He made all the scenes, all the interviews, and everything else. He put a lot of work into it, and I think it really, really showed. And I hope you guys really enjoyed the quality and just everything else that happened for this stream. But with that aside, we are going to do the top 16 breakdown. And once again, thanks to Cord for giving me these lists to give to you guys. If you want to just care about the deck list, there should be a link to this form in the description of this video as well, so you don't have to hear me talk about it. Also, I will be updating this with interviews. There's no doubt going to be interviews for all 16 of these people, and they're going to know about these decks way more than I would. They played it for 12 plus hours, so I think that would be a good resource for you guys as well. Real quick, before we jump into the list, looking at the breakdown, we have 4 Higher Dragons, 2 Syn Shenrons, 2 Gogeta Xenos, 2 SSB Reboots, an Aandroidd 16, a Cell Surge, an Aandroidd 21, a King Piccolo, a King Cold, and a Golden Frieza. What a super diverse pie chart we have here. One of every color is also on here as well, which is really unique in a lot of ways, especially for your national event, something that is so wide open of a format. Obviously, we did have set 15 that just released beforehand, and we're also going to get some new promos with that release that are going to be legal right after this event as well, so which is more of a shakeup in a lot of ways. But I think it's great to see such diversity, especially at a national level, and really, really shows just how strong some of these players are. They can choose which leader they think is the best and which one they're most comfortable with and do very, very well with them. But with that aside, we're going to jump into the first list. So this is the Andrew Duvall Higher Dragon first place list from here. And, Higher Dragon was really popular before this and did get the hit with the Bojack, making, the yellow-blue variant's not as popular anymore, and it's just mono-yellow, and I still think that is such a way to go. We did get some brand new cards to help that with the Turtles, All Too Easy. Great card for 2 energy, has a lot of reach. You can have double strike, you can choose one of your opponent's battle cards in rest mode and KO it, and then choose another card, or get the cycle, which is really nice. We also see the Son Goku Steadfast Assistance. So this blocker, counterplay the battle card being played is played in rest mode, then you play this card and you get to draw 1. And then also, when activating this card's counter skills from your hand, reduce the energy cost by 1 for each yellow extra card in your battle area and energy area and drop area. So this could be essentially a Crusher Ball, which also comes with a blocker, which is really, really nice. It's just a great card for kind of the controlling matchups. We did see a lot of Lord Slug engines in these as well. We do have the new Secret Rare, which is just great for kind of doing, it's just so flexible, being able to either have like a big body or steal your opponent's cards and everything else like that. And looking into the sideboard, I think something that was really common is the boards. I think almost everyone ran these. In fact, when going into the venue, we did have people handing these out, making sure they had their play sets of them, which is really funny to see. And there's just a bunch at the commentator table as well, but just a good card for just a lot of hand destruction and being really flexible for there. Definitely immediately a sideboard card when this card was printed. So I think this list is super duper strong. I think that Andrew is super duper strong as well. We do have 3 other Higher Dragon lists as well. So here's Marquise's list, where he got top 4. He got 4th place with this list. Some more interesting choices from here. I do like the Chile Super Combo. I think this is a good tech into the list. You get a lot of draw anyways, and getting this rest on a Unison or a leader card when your opponent's not expecting is great. Especially stopping a leader card swing, preventing them from getting that card draw can, be very good at preventing your opponent from getting that advantage on you. We also have this, which is activate main. Once per turn for 1 yellow, choose one of your opponent's energy and switch to rest mode. So if you want to pay 2 energy to make your opponent lose 1 energy, that's fine. If you're depending on what deck you're playing against, that 1 energy trade can be really, really huge. So I would be interested to see how impactful this card was in general. And then a little bit more, I'd say, of a diverse sideboard from here. Only running 2 Deborah and 1 of the Sun Gohan Trusted Ally, which is essentially a mini colors restrictive version of the Deborah, which is kind of nice and pretty standard from there. A lot of foods for decks that are going into long turns, and it's just such a good win condition. It's a very old card, but there's not a lot of interaction with it. Obviously 6 energy is a lot of energy, but it finishes games. And if you're playing against a deck that has like a bunch of blockers, which we're going to see a couple of those in the top 16, it can just turn all of those off. Going next, so this is Trey's list as well. Adding the Debors in the main, what a mad lad, and I wonder how well that worked out for him. Obviously, these are just 5k combos, you don't have to be worried about it as well, but there was quite a bit of hand destruction like archetypes in this format as well. You could also do just crazy things, like if your opponent uses a Topo, you can swing with this, play the Deborah from it, get the card draw back. Doing a lot of like the Tau and kind of gameplay from a couple of years ago. I'm not sure if that came up, but that's something I was thinking about when I'm reading the card again. And also running like just the kind of small skillless engine as well. Like this Unison can do a lot of work, especially like this almost works as like a battle card, especially if you're not using a Unison card anyways, where you can play this in your area, just use the popping effect and gain a lot of advantage. I think that's a good idea there, especially with you're running vanillas anyways in this list too. And then also some Self-Awakening, which I don't think a lot of other decks were running Self-Awakening that much in their builds, which could, if you're playing against something that doesn't swing into you, like Self-Surge, for example, being able to awaken that turn earlier can be a big, big boon. And then from there, nothing too crazy. No Fu in the main, it is in the side for this list, but I think this is a very well-crafted list as well. And then the last Higher Dragon is Anthony Figueroa. And nothing too crazy, I think, that we haven't talked about already. We do have one of these Trunks in the main as well. And I think, like, real quick, a lot of people did put a lot of their hate in the main just because even though this is best of 3, we did only have an hour to play. And I think most people who won game 1 ended up winning the set, or at least tying. So it's just showing how impactful that game 1 is in this format and for this game right now. But here is this list, so congrats to Anthony as well for his finish. Moving on to the second place list, so here is Jared Lopez's Aandroidd 16. Nothing, no one expected this card. I expect all these cards to like double or triple in value. It's super crazy. Just how this came out of nowhere, but I know Jared personally from the area. I just moved to Phoenix and he is from here as well. I've only seen him play this deck and he's such a boss with it, and there's a lot of him on stream as well, so you should be able to see some re-uploads. But man, what a beast of a deck. And I think something that people obviously weren't expecting this list, and there's just like a small amount of support that this deck has gone over the last couple sets. For example, the Aandroidd 16, Defender, and also this Limiter Disengage. I love this card so much, so flexible in what it's doing, and just having more cards to do this. And I think when the deck first came out, like the 16s from the expansion set were fine, but just having more targets, like all of these are great hits for your energy, and if they get hit into your energy, you just play them for free, right? You just get that free cycle. Everything else, ramp is always good, and when you're able to go into one of the best unisons in the game for a turn earlier, it just feels very, very good. Having Aandroidd 21s as well for your, being able to snipe life as well and just finish out games when your opponent has a really wide board is really nice as well. These Zamasus put in so much work. Especially since you have not one but 2 5-drops that you can play for 1 that are rival targets, and also green cards, so you can do that. Once these Zamasus hit the board, they just gain so much value. They're very difficult to remove unless you're playing like a red deck, which wasn't very popular this weekend. And looking at this deck sometimes and looking at his plays, it just looked like it was undefeatable, and it nearly was. So here is the sideboard as well. I think some pretty standards. This Aandroidd 21 is such a spicy card from this too. So the way you play this card is with the Steadfast Alley. So you play this for 4. When this card is played, up to 1 Android 21 card with any cost of 5 or less from your deck to your hand. Shuffle your deck and then play 1 Android 21 with any cost of 5 or less in your hand. So it doesn't have to be the one you choose, so it's already in hand, but you still get the cycle. And also, when this card attacks, your opponent chooses 1 card in their hand and discards it. So you can see how this can turn into kind of a hand destruction archetype all by itself, and you get to play just a bunch of chunky boys that are also blockers, and just the kind of duality of being able to react to how your opponent's doing is, I think, really, really strong. But since you can play an Android 21 for free, you can choose this one, and this says auto choose 1 card in your energy, place in your drop area. When you play this card, choose all of your opponent's battle cards with any cost 4 or less and place them at the bottom of their owner's deck in any order. What a solid card. You only need to run 1 too, because it's very searchable with these cards as well, as long as you don't hit it into your life. And we definitely saw that, hit the board and just wipe, and I almost feel like won it nearly if he played this card, and then Ernest, the King Piccolo player we'll see in a second, did a counter board wipe at the same time. So it evened it out, but definitely very, very important for that list. Moving right along, we do have, I totally didn't get it. There we go. Sorry, not editing this. I'm very tired. We do have the top. Did we get this? Where is he? Yeah. All right. So here is the third place list. So this is from Jordan Markle. Cell Surge, a deck near and dear to my heart, as you guys know. I would say this is a just very standard list for the archetype. I think a lot of people were expecting this list to do Cell Surge to do very well in itself. And third place is very well in my mind. Obviously, I think it's more of Jordan Markle just being a great player and making it there himself. But what a strong list in a lot of ways. I think the only thing that this deck suffered about is that I think people were expecting this list 100%, and with it being best of 3, and with the board being such a free card to be putting into your sideboard, it was expected. So this is really why I think Jordan really carried it, and really congrats to him, especially doing a third place this year and first place for the first one. Definitely a huge competitor for this game. So here's this list as well, and moving right along to the Gogeta Xeno list. So here is Dylan Warren's able to get top 8 with this list. I don't really Gogeta Xeno is definitely a lot of okay, this is there's a Super Saiyan, and there's a Gogeta, and you got to get these Gokus and these Vegetas into your drop area. But this is definitely a really strong list, and I think it kind of fills the void after the Vegex leader just got nerfed so many times, and just the engines for it. But such a lot, really, really good. Obviously, this Gogeta is one of the strongest cards in the game, and being able to actually use it to its fullest power, I think is fantastic, especially since when this card attacks, it does hand destruction by warping it and not by sending cards to the drop, so it does get around a lot of the hate for that as well. And just a very strong list. I don't think anything really new except for probably the Pan time control from the new set, but I think that's totally fine. This is a strong list and really flexible in a lot of ways, so you can choose which kind of unisons you go into and just gain a lot of advantage. And then additionally, here is Nicholas Menard's list as well. Yeah, that is. I think very similar in a lot of ways. Choosing the unison, I think, is big. I think the Black Smoke Dragon offering destruction is really interesting for this as well, for the leader. And we also do have the mirror. So this card can attack if you have 2 or less. +1, you may choose 1 card in your hand into your warp. If you do, draw 1. And which you really want to do in a lot of ways. And at -2 for each card in your warp, this card gets +5k power for the battle, and that's on an active main. So I think that's really flexible for what you're doing. And yeah, it's just a strong deck. And Nick's just a strong player. He's been doing a lot of work in this last year. He's been grinding out a lot of webcam events, been hosting a lot of events of his own in Canada as well. And just great to see a Canadian do super well in this tournament too. So congrats to Nicholas. Moving on, we have the King Piccolo. So this is Ernest for the top 8. And, obviously a lot of people, I think, wrote off King Piccolo and just Red in general, right? We had the King Vegeta that got nerfed. We had this deck that got the nerf to Drum being down to 1. And not a lot of new support cards, but I know Ernest has been grinding this deck for a long time. I've seen him at the top tables for webcam events as well. And he's just a super strong player. So I think this is really standard. And honestly, I think if people aren't expecting this list and they're not, I don't think there's a lot of siding besides just board wipe in general for this list, and it can just do very, very well. It did add the inclusion of one of the new secret rares, the Radiant Sands. So, Ultimate Energy Exhaust. If this card is removed from your battle area, remove it from game instead. Permanent. If your opponent has 2 or more energy and your leader card is red, blue, or shares character name, you gain double strike and crit. And then auto for 2 at the end of battle, which is cards used from a combo from your hand. You can play it from your drop area, and if you don't, you can choose up to 4 of your opponent's battle cards, place them at the bottom of their owner's deck, and then move this card in your drop area from the game. So definitely a very flexible card. Lets you do what you really want. And something that I noticed too is that when seeing his game on stream, King Piccolo usually would kind of try to end the game on turn 2 or 3, but he would really try to grind it out and kind of go turn 3, turn 4, and you just have a lot more energy, a lot more things to do with it. I also do like this Son Goku Divine Presence added to this list as well. So, deflect dual attack, can't be removed from your battle area by your skills during your turn, and also auto once per turn when this card attacks, you add it to 1 red skillless battle card. And no, it just gets 5 because there's no skill list in here. And then just being able to play it for 2 red as well. Just a really chunky dude. He can be a really good game ender. I think, just when you can only run one of these King Piccolos as well, it just kind of acts as a backup version of that. You do have to pay some energy for it, but I think it's a very good card. But this is Ernest's list, and congrats to his finish as well. Moving right along, so this is Rohit Pusara's Aandroidd 21. Another, I think, deck that in leader that was not on people's bingo cards, but what a great list as well. Reminds me a lot of the Android 16 list as well, and it's just being blue-green Android support, and there's a lot of cards in the same. You are a ramped deck as well, which is big. And they also, this was one of the stream matches while Android 16 versus Android 21. Definitely recommend you guys check that out. It was a great match, and I think it was very, very cool. And really interesting to see, this is almost a mirror match in a lot of ways. Android 21's scheme is such an interesting card. The clone tokens are good at doing what you're doing as well. And, blue is so good with having responses to your opponent's things. I think Baby Hatch is still one of the best secret rares in the game. Running blue is just, I would run blue just to run this secret rare in my deck. I think it's so good. And just being able to do like the burn effects as well with the Android 21 and the new Super 17, which you pay a big 7 energy, but you play this card from your energy area, then play up to 3 Android cards, any cost 5 or less from your energy area as well, which can just mean 3 of these, which do 3 whole damage. And I think that's a very, very cool tack into the list. And then everything else. The Villainous Counter-Strike is interesting too. You can pop a bunch of tokens in its active battle. And anything else, like if you're playing against skillless decks, which you are playing against, with Higher Dragon being in the game, I think that's cool. The Master Roshis, I saw that cited, and he does so much. If you're just, if you're feeling safe enough to get to 6 energy, it's crit, dual attack barrier. When this plays card, choose up to 2 of your opponent's battle cards, place them at the bottom of your deck. At the end of your turn, just get the extra cycle. And this blue impulse, so if your leader card is green, oh, you just reduce the energy cost, but that's paying it for 2 is not a big deal. But if your opponent played a battle card this turn, choose all your opponent's battle cards and KO them. So if you're able to, I saw this sided in against the Android 16, and man, if being able to choose all of your opponent's battle cards and KO them, especially when we're in a meta where there's so much arrival and everything else, and interaction in general, I think that's a really good insight for that. And I want to know how many he's able to resolve this weekend, if he's able to like snipe it. Moving on, we do have King Cold by Daniel Alvarez. What a, definitely a long-standing list. This was, I think, a tier 1 list back over the summer, and doesn't have a lot of new support from the set, but I think it's still just a really solid deck that you can't count out. And nothing too crazy, I would say, from these lists. You do have the I don't know. King Cold is definitely a list where you're kind of given 40 cards already. In my mind, you have just so much of the archetypes, some of the extra cards as well, and they can just kind of tune it from there. Having the double strike, having the big Friezas as well. I do like the Son Gohan, Yamcha in the main as well, but and some hand destruction. I would almost want to see more hand destruction in the side, but I think it's just a solid deck from a solid player, so congrats to Daniel for that. Moving on, we do have the SS Blue reboots. So these are in the top 16 as well. So this is Daniel Dalby's. And this was definitely, I think, a leader that was doing super duper well. I specifically know that 17th place was also playing a reboot. Shout outs to Jonic for that Super 17 top right there. But I think the one of the big cards from the set was this Kefla Lightning Speed. Such a good card. It can be offensive, can be defensive. Being able to pop things with barriers, always a big boon. Especially when you can do an active battle. Like we've seen how big, the Shugesh Son Goku, we've come a long ways from that, but it's still such a powerful, effect to be able to do. And I think that the Super Saiyan God Son Goku is probably the best blue leader that we have right now. And so being able to put all these cards in there and do very well. Obviously, blue yellow is not as good as it used to be, and we also don't have the Buster, but I think it's just in a very good spot still. So here's this list. So this is Daniel's. We also have Kevin Zwinga with his list as well. I don't think anything too crazy except for maybe the Syn Shenron Negative Energy Explosion. It's a 4-drop, double strike barrier, blocker. If your leader card is Shadow Dragon, which it isn't, so we're not going to read it. It has an activate main art battle. You can use Spirit Boost, switch this card to action mode, and your opponent puts the top card of their deck into drop area. So I think it's just like a big bully that also can get the restand. I mean, Barrier Blocker is a good card, especially if this card can block twice in one turn. And you're going to have the Spirit Boost ready for you anyways. Baby the Unknown Parasite, which was the Unison for choice, along with the Super Saiyan 3 Gogeta. This card can just get to 5 markers really, really quickly as soon as you play it. So you're just going to have a lot of markers to be able to do Spirit Boost effects as well. This Intoxicated by Justice was another interesting sideboard tech here. And let me make sure it's... I do like this Piccolo. Oh, this Gotenks. I love this Gotenks too. Just gets a lot of value in what you're doing. But these are these lists. Oh, this Androidd 17 if you really want to get to that turn 7, which I don't think is too terrible for these lists as well. But these are these. Blue is just so flexible in what you're doing in a lot of ways. So a lot of these, one of, two ofs to make the deck your own, I think really, really happen for both Daniel and Kevin. All right, final 3. So we do have 2 Syn Shenron. So this is Eon Hills. I think this is more of an aggressive build, but you do have both the options for being mid-range or aggressive, which I think is one of the best things about Syn Shenron. It just has a lot of flexibility. Obviously, you just have a lot of cards in the archetype as well if you need to, but you can see this with the negative energy 5-star ball and Raid Shenron, that you do have the potential to be aggressive. Like the Omega Shenron is so good at being able to do anything you need it to do. But if you do want to go up the kind of, I'd say, original chain to get to the 9-drop, that is also available to him as well. But yeah, just a strong list in a lot of ways. Obviously, if you want to be defensive, Fu is great for there. Running the Unison as well, which can be very, very obnoxious if you need it to be. The Trunks to get back some new cards if you need to is super cool. And still running Cell Xeno, which I don't think getting to 5 energy with this deck is too crazy to do. And getting that dual attack, quad strike, and hand destruction can still be devastating. We're not doing it turn 3, getting the quad strike, I think, as often because we can't get the quad strike. But I do think we are getting to 5 pretty consistently with a list like this, and it'd be very easy to get that 12 energy to get there. We also do have, Russell Steltzer's version of this as well. I'd say this one is a little bit more defensive. You don't see the Raid Shenron, so it's just the total grind. But Yellow's in a really good spot. Yellow has so many generic tools. The Death Blaster in main, love to see that. Having 4 of the Mechis, and I think you really want to awaken on turn 4 with this and get the extra life. Being able, just the 6 energy active main for this to play 7 Shadow Dragons is huge for this list. And I think it's just very, very strong. I'd say this is probably the original way to play the leader. And it's really cool to see both these lists are both Syn Shenrons, and they run probably about half of the same cards, but they're completely different play styles, and that's really, really neat to see. So congrats to Russell for there. And the final list of the day, night, afternoon, wherever you are, is Marcus Cantarsi's Set 1 Golden Frieza. And once again, I've kind of said this, I think there was kind of like a vying for power after Mecha Frieza got banned of what is the best yellow list for all of these great cards the leaders are getting, or, the colors getting in general. So I know that Marcus and a lot of his teammates did play this Golden Frieza. We did see Joey Palladino on stream as well with his version, which I think they had the same version since they're teammates and everything. But yeah, just a lot of new targets, and it's really cool to see such an old leader still do very well. And I think this was one of the best leaders, longevity-wise, is probably one of the best leaders. We still see it topping events every once in a while, and just being able to get that energy on tap and be flexible with your energy is really, really cool. It is a little bit tricky because if you do get counterplayed, or if you tap out to play something and you want to untap with the card you just played, and they like freeze a charismatic or they bounce it back to your hand, you could be in a lot of trouble. But if you are able to go off, you're able to get your cards on field, or if you're able to keep getting that advantage, it gets a lot, it gets very snowbally very, very fast. We do have like these Ginyus here just for the drawing, which is really nice. Mecha Frieza is one of the best negates in the game right now, and it's a Frieza's army, so you get so much advantage from it. Being able to play Frieza's army on your opponent's turn, which means that as long as it survives, you can use it for the pop effect of your leader on your next turn. We do have like the new Son Goku Return of the Dragon Fist for game enders as well. And also, I like this hatch. This is a really, really nice pick. So with the idea of, tapping out to play a card and if something happens to it, you can emergency, if your board is truly empty and you can't pop anything, you can use this to get that to happen. Seeing the Gokus in main for the Hate Cold Bloodless, one of the best cards in the game. Frieza Divine Transformation is a huge boon as well, being able to pop this. If your leader card's yellow, when this card's played, choose all of your opponent's battle cards in rest mode, KO them. Flip one card in your life face down at the end of the turn, switch to active mode, which is for another Frieza, but that doesn't really matter. Also, auto ones return when your opponent activates a counterattack skill. Choose up to 2 of the cards, switch in rest mode, and they can't be switched to active mode until the end of your opponent's next turn. So great at locking you down. And like Fu, just finishing the game if this helped you get there. But very, very grindy, a lot of very specific choices and ratios, and I think it's a really, really cool list. So that is there. These are the top 16s list for your North American National Finals. I hope you guys enjoyed the breakdown. If you do appreciate it, let me know in the comments. If you do have videos of your interviews, of other people's interviews, let me know, and I'll put this on this list as well. And that should be it for me. So thank you guys so much. Shoutouts again to Core, my stream team, everyone for this weekend. It was very, very fun. And I can't wait for more opportunities like this. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you all next time.
Damn it.